Rock and Stone, everyone. How's it going? I'm your host, Get Good Fox, and you know what time it is. Deep Dives and Elite Deep Dives. This week is March 16th, 2023, and yep, I'm going to take you through both of the deep dives. I'm going to show you what the conditions are and how to overcome them so you can rake in all those matrix cores, and I've got good news. The deep dives this week are really not that bad, so if you've never tried a deep dive before or an elite deep dive, maybe this is your first week to give it a go. Who knows? Maybe next week will be pretty rough. If you want to see just how easy these are, remember you can catch me live on Twitch at Get Good Fox, where I do the deep dives live. And if you want to catch the episode after the fact, go to Get Good Fox VODs on YouTube. That is my secondary channel where I do upload all of the streams. Anyways, let's get started with the deep dive. And our deep dive is taking place in the glacial strata, so beware of the periodic blizzards that will chill you. Mission 1 is Hazard 3 difficulty. You'll be collecting 4 alien eggs, expect 1 swarm, and you'll be recovering a black box. If you've never done the black box before, it's like doing one part of the ending of a salvage ops where you gotta activate the device and then stay within that green ring until it fills up. That's all you gotta do, and overall, this is a really routine mission. If you've done egg hunt on Hazard 3, if you've done salvage op on Hazard 3, then you've done something just like this. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Onwards to Mission 2, which is going to bump up the difficulty to Hazard 3.5. Objectives will be to salvage 3 mini mules. Yes, you will have to go through the complete drop pod recovery process. You'll also have to kill a dreadnought, and it will be the Glyphid dreadnought. There's also a mutator in effect, so warning, shield disruption. That means for this particular phase of the deep dive, no shields at any point in time, but in return, you will take 30% less damage from any hostile source. So that's from enemies or from environmental effects, but not from friendly fire and not from falling. Overall, I would say that this could be a little bit dangerous due to the lack of shielding. Remember that your ammo pods are going to give you healing. They don't just give you ammo, they also give you healing. So feel free to use some extra ammo pods to push through this mission. Also remember that the mini mules will give you more nitro when you assemble them and put them back together. That's going to help you a lot, probably give you an extra heal or 2. The best thing to do, though, would be stay relatively close together. You don't have to be side by side, but try to stay together. Call out the red sugar, because this kind of mission where you don't have shields, it's going to wear you down, especially because you got to fight that Glyphid dreadnought. Remember, no shields, so the damage is somewhat permanent. Normally, you can eat an attack or 2. No, it doesn't work this time. You don't have the shielding to blunt the damage, so give the dreadnought some space, give it some respect. Don't be greedy with your attacks. Don't try to get a few extra shots in, just back off, give it some space. Remember, it's got both the fireball and the stomp. Both are quite damaging, especially when you don't have shields. And as usual, bring some anti-boss weapons. Bring something that slows enemies down. Corrosive sludge pump's a great example on the driller, or use a weapon that ignores the enemy's armor so you don't have to strictly hit them in the weak point. Good example would be the shard diffractor on the engineer. Do that, and even without shields, you should be able to bring this dreadnought down. Let's move on to the final mission, though. And the final mission is going to maintain that difficulty of 3.5. Objectives are to collect alien eggs. Expect 1 swarm. You'll also have to repair mini mules. You do have to just repair them in this case. You don't have to go through the whole salvage thing. That's the importance of repair versus salvage. They will give you nitro, though, when you fix them up, so it's a nice bonus. Beware the mutator, though. Warning, rival presence. That means all those crazy robo enemies are going to be showing up. You got your shredders, you got your patrol bots. There is a turret controller and a whole suite of turrets built around it. I did not find a nemesis. I'm not saying that you might not find a nemesis. That's that floaty crab claw, grab you up, chomp chomp guy. I did find one, though. So that's probably good. I doubt you'll encounter one. If you encounter a nemesis, just let me know down in the comment section, but didn't find a nemesis personally. So overall, this isn't a super hard mission. I would say the main snag is really just the turret controller, and it's not even that big of a deal. A really sneaky way to deal with it, though, is go down. There's a big old cliff. I guess the cliff and the turret controller is the big deal. So you go down the cliff, and if you've got a driller, you can actually just drill underground, tunnel up underneath the turret controller, and actually hack it underground, and all of the earth surrounding you will stop the turrets from shooting you, and then you can just hack it and they'll all self-destruct, which is pretty awesome. Once you deactivate that turret controller, though, it's really not going to be that big of a deal. And remember that rival tech is vulnerable to fire. If you can fully ignite them, they just explode immediately. So if you're playing as a driller, consider bringing the flamethrower, put on the extra attack speed, put on anything that allows you to heat enemies up faster, and yeah, you might be able to rip through them in moments. Use your ammo, punch through the enemies. Remember, there's no 4th level, so throw all your ammo at it, and yeah, you're going to bring it all home. But why be satisfied with 3 Matrix cores when you can have 6? Time to move on to the Elite Deep Dive. So our Elite Deep Dive takes place in the Azure World. Mission 1 has a difficulty of Hazard 4.5. Objectives are to refine liquid morkite and take out an enemy dreadnought. It will specifically be the Glyphid Dreadnought. However, got a lot of moving parts in this mission because there are 2 mutators in effect. First, you've got Warning, Exploder Infestation. This means you will be frequently attacked by squads of self-destructing exploders, which is quite annoying, but also Anomaly, Volatile Guts. This means all of the enemies that you kill, with some exception, will self-destruct. This is both good and bad. It's more good than bad because it can kill one bug, it'll self-destruct because of Volatile Guts, and then it will kill another bug, and then they'll die, and they'll kill another bug, cause a chain reaction, and so forth. In fact, the Volatile Guts may counter the exploders, which is quite nice. Just keep in mind that you are also damaged by it. It also will not affect swarming enemies, such as the Glyphid Swarmers, and it won't affect the big fat stationary targets like the Brood Nexus. Overall, I would say this is probably the hardest mission. It's not that bad though. The big catch is the terrain. You see, it's rather vertical, and the refinery lands way up high, and all of your objectives are way down below. Now, the worst case scenario is a swarm hits while you are separated. Because of the difference in terrain elevation, you might not be able to regroup and defend as a unified Dwarven squad, which is how the enemies may pick you apart. On the other hand, there is an abundant amount of nitra. In fact, there is so much nitra in this one level. I had over 400 nitra at certain points of the mission, and you might get so much nitra that you could just brutalize the following mission. So I absolutely advise you to get at least 300 nitra from this mission before moving on. But the way you're going to counter this mission is just bring a gunner. The gunner can fire a zip line, that'll let you go down, that'll let you go back up. So if a swarm hits and some of you are above, some of you are down below, you can come back together. The boss, once again, consider bringing some anti-boss weapons. If you've got a driller, consider using the corrosive sludge pump. That will slow down the boss a lot. It also eats away at its health through its armor, once again letting you ignore some of the boss's rules. Speaking of weapons that are good at ignoring armor, you've also got the Engineer's Shard Diffractor. The Engineer can also make the platforms, which are not going to be as handy as the zipline for going up and down the level, but you can equip it with the perk that lets you take less falling damage, letting you plummet down to the bottom and probably survive if you land on one of the platforms in a pinch. Anyways, let's move on to Mission 2. So Mission 2, difficulty is bumped up to Hazard 5. Objectives are to collect 4 alien eggs, expect 1 swarm. You'll also have to repair 2 mini-mules. Note that it says repair, not salvage, so you don't actually have to recover the whole drop pod process, but when you repair them, you will get the nitro, so once again, it is a nice additional objective. There's a mutator in effect, though. It's Warning, Elite Target. This will cause periodically some enemies will just be bigger, they'll glow with energy, they're going to be faster, they got more health, they do more damage, they're elite. So when you see them, take them out. They are fairly dangerous on Hazard 5. Overall, though, this should actually be an easier mission than before, especially if you collected up all of that nitra. Part of the reason why it's not that bad is because you do have a lot of influence over whether the enemies attack or not. There can be random attacks, there can be pre-spawned enemies, but a lot of the enemies will attack at predictable times. Pull an egg, here come the enemies. Get that mini mule up and running, more enemies. So that means if you bring somebody like an engineer, you could set up your turrets, you can be ready in a defensive position, then you pull an egg and you can just mow them down. And what do you know? The engineer happens to have an anti-boss weapon. If it's good against the boss, that shard diffractor, it's going to be good against the elite enemies. But this one should not be a big deal, especially if you collected all that nitra from the previous mission. So let's go ahead and move on to the final mission. And our final mission is going to raise the difficulty up to hazard 5.5. Objectives are to protect the drill dozer and collect 150 morkite. There is a mutator in play though, and it's warning: low oxygen. Your oxygen generators will be ammo pods, the mule, and the drill dozer itself. And because, well, it's an escort mission, the low oxygen shouldn't really make an effect because you'll be near Dorettas so frequently. So in a lot of ways, you can kind of ignore the low oxygen mutator, meaning what this really is a hazard 5.5 escort mission. That's not going to be easy, but it's really not the worst either. My main tips here would be use the rest of your nitro. If you got to use one at the refueling point, use one at the refueling point. But save, I would say 2-3 of them at least for the final section, the Amaran Heartstone drilling section. When you get there, what's really going to help is if you brought an engineer. Engineer is going to help a ton because he helps to automate the experience. Turrets, they let you fight while you're doing other things. If you've got proximity mines, they will blow the enemies up. Another thing that really helps is his shard diffractor. It's good against bosses, it's good against elite enemies, it's also good against rocks. If you had that gunner, because you needed those zip lines in the first mission, he's also going to be really good at hosing down all of those rocks. So if you did that, this mission really shouldn't be that big of a deal. My main advice would be try to coordinate. Have one guy kill the rocks, and the guy on rock duty should not be killing bugs. The other guy should kill bugs. And if he needs to reload, have him tell you that, and then switch roles. Now you kill the rocks, and then when he reloads, he will kill the bugs. Do that, and you should find that the enemy just cannot bring the numbers to overrun you, and you're going to be bringing home all of the Matrix core. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. These are my class recommendations for the deep dive and elite deep dive. So for the deep dive, I'm going to recommend a scout and engineer combination. Everyone knows how good the engineer scout combo is. You throw down those platforms and the scout just grapples up there and gobbles up all the resources. Hey, let's just go fast. These deep dives this week are really not that bad, and this combination is going to let you breeze through it. Also has the benefit that the faster you go, the less ammo you are going to spend. Now, you might think that this combination isn't as good on the defense, but the scout does have some tricks up his sleeve. Bring those pheromone grenades, and you will force the enemies to fight amongst themselves during the defense, which really disrupts them. And the engineers got the turrets, gonna give plenty of cover fire, so it shouldn't be any trouble on the defense at all. Scout also has the ability to easily get away from the bosses and avoid damage during the shield disruption. Meanwhile, the engineer has a weapon. Get that shard diffractor out, zap the boss so that you don't have to play by the boss's rules and shoot its weak point. You can damage it through its armor. Now for the elite deep dive, I'm going to recommend a gunner engineer setup because we want those zip lines for the first section of the elite deep dive. Remember, it's very vertical, so the zip line is going to play a big role there. Also, the gunner can do a lot of damage to the boss. However, he's really going to shine at the very end when you've got to defend the drill dozer. Not only can he hose down the bugs, he can also hose down all of the rocks, and I forgot to mention it, but he can even kill the beamers. Any of his primary weapons, just aim for the tip of the beamer, and you can actually chunk away at the crystal, and that will destroy it. So he's going to play a big role there. Then you're also going to want the engineer. Engineer can do some platforming shenanigans to help you in the first mission, but where he's really going to shine is against the bosses. Bring in that shard diffractor and zap up the boss. Once again, you don't have to hit it in the weak point. You're going to have to deal with those elite enemies. Once again, shard diffractor is going to be great there. And you've got the turrets. You've got your choice of lure grenades or proximity mines. Going to be great for getting the enemies off of you. Proximity mines, great for defending the drill dozer. You've got the turrets that help you defend the drill dozer. And of course, that same shard diffractor will also be very good at destroying the rocks, giving you so much coverage with this gunner engineer setup. Anyways, that is going to be that. Remember, if you want to see me play these deep dives live, catch me on Twitch at GetGoodFox. And if you don't like Twitch, remember, I do upload all of the videos to my second YouTube channel, GetGoodFox VODs, where you can catch them there. But till next time, miners, let me know if this helped you down in the comment section. Like the video if it was entertaining. Subscribe for future Deep Rock Galactic content. And of course, remember that you don't have to be good to get good.